doesn't work.
That doesn't.
But maybe the second two would work without breaking, without a break in between.
Can you tell me a little bit about this beautiful piece, which is an impromptu? What prompted you to write it?
Well, actually, I got a commission from a man who wanted to dedicate a piece or commission a piece for his friend with whom he worked for years. He told me he wanted to commission a piece, and I said, okay, why not? And he said his friend loves the cello. I said, me too, so it's a good idea.
And you play the cello too, don't you?
I practice. I practice on the cello. I said, okay, I can do that because it's one of my favorite instruments. So I asked, when do you need it? And then he said, in 5 days or so. I said, excuse me? And he said, in 5 days. But he wasn't aware of this whole process of creating and doing stuff. But at that time I had a lot of time, and I nearly didn't sleep during the nights. So I said, okay, but he wanted to be played also in 5 days, so I had to call Anton, the cellist. Said, I have this project, but it's in 5 days, and you're going to play, but we don't have the music yet.
And he'd played your works before, hadn't he?
Prior? No, actually not.
So this was the first work of...
I think it was the first time, yeah.
Because he speaks your language on that instrument in the most incredible way.
Yeah, it's amazing. So and he said, okay, yeah, when can I have the music? I said, I don't know, but you have to play it in 5 days. And well, luckily he said, okay, so... And I started writing the first piece. I think the first part actually. I wrote it that night.
Yes.
And then the next afternoon or so, I started writing the second part, and the third part came also after it. Actually, I wrote the second part, and then I wrote. I remember that I let it finish there, but then I said it doesn't feel finished yet. It doesn't feel complete, so I have to write another movement. So then I wrote a variation on the first one. And then I wrote it down for cello. I just don't know. I just did it in 2 days.
And you've had that experience before where pieces just start to flow, haven't you?
Yeah, but normally they take time. But probably I think this was
the
also
right time, maybe.
Yeah, it was just. I think it was the right time because when I have a commission, it needs time to grow. It needs time to evolve before I write down something, and then I start to write. I write it part by part. I write a few bars. I leave it. I write 3 or 4 beginnings because that's what I find very important in a piece. The beginning.
Yeah.
And then I pick one of them out, and the other 3, maybe someday I'll use them. Maybe I won't. And then I start compiling actually all these notes I wrote down during that long period
of the commission.
All my works are like patchworks.
Yes.
Probably you noticed that.
Yeah.
But I've had this once more writing in one night, and that was for the Preludio.
Which is also an inspired work. I think it's just...
Yeah, maybe it's the best way. I don't know. That was
Well, it's the right time for,
yeah,
for
probably.
that, yeah.
That was in Krakow when we had a rehearsal with the quartet, Antalya Quartet, and I finished my quintet for quartet and Balama, and I actually wanted to write a preludio for the viola because I loved their sound, and that was also the first sound which I liked the most when I listened to them for the first time.
Was the viola sound in it?
Penderecki String Quartet number 3. There's this opening, wah, wah, and then comes this beautiful viola sound. I was totally in love with that sound.
Yeah.
So I wanted to write a prelude for her, but I only had the first motive.
Yes.
And for the rest, it just didn't come. And we had that one day of rehearsal with them, and I think I was so inspired and full of music and notes and things that I went back to the hotel.
Still not sleeping.
In Krakow. I wrote it, and I was finished at 5 or 6 o'clock, I think.
In the morning.
Yeah, in the morning. And then I slept for a few hours. And then we met each other, and I gave the sheet music to Magdalena, and she said, "Don't expect me to play it immediately." I said, "No, but we can still workshop it."
Yeah. And so that was the...
So that's how I did it once before, yes, and that was with the prelude.
And also for the viola, you've transcribed this from cello to viola. Mm. How did that process go? Did you have to think about anything? I'm swapping from the cello to the viola sound. Do I have to think about registers, or have you kind of transplanted it straight into the viola register from the cello?
Well, I always do it like that. So I put it one octave up into the viola register, and then I check it bar by bar. Well, there aren't many bars in this piece in the beginning, but line by line.
Yes.
To see if it would work on viola, and I had my doubts about a few parts in this piece.
There's a lot of really deep-throated cello sound, especially coming through some of the double stops too, where it almost growls. And I wondered whether you find, after hearing it today, are you wanting an extra octave down still, or is it because you're finding it's balanced enough still with?
Definitely, because I know your viola sound, your viola sound, and I know that you have already a very deep sound, and that's what is very meaningful to me, or should I say it? I like that a lot.
So it's okay.
So it is already in there, and I knew that when I was checking it. I only had my doubts about a few places, but I didn't change anything. But a few things, for example, that martelli in the second would be spiccato on viola.
So the part of the bow that we use doesn't always. Sometimes it can feel, you know. And the cello opposite bowing often works much better, but you can get the same articulation.
Yeah, martelli works on cello for but those are small technical details, but I didn't change anything in the notes and I checked them, and I thought they were okay, and I heard you play now, so now I know it's okay.
It's great. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Well, thank you.
Thank you for playing my piece again. I'm very, very honored, because you're such a great viola player, and you have this amazing sound, and I really, really love it. I really love the viola in general, but I love your viola.
But I think you were also but I think you're also right so well for it. So it's the emotion that comes through this lower register, of the viola or the cello, and that's something that's incredibly special. The emotion is really palpable in it.
For example, when I would transcribe this for violin, I think it wouldn't work, or it would become a totally different piece.
Yeah, which is, if you're prepared for that, I guess that's something you'd have to be. Would you have a problem if a violinist said, "Can you write that for violin?" Would you ever say, "No, I don't want you to play it on violin"? Or would you say, "Let's try it, and if I don't like it, don't play it"? That's a difficult position, isn't it?
Let's try it, but I think it would totally get a different character. Yeah. Because viola is close to cello.
Yes.
And close to violin also.
Yes.
It's a bit more cello-ish.
It is. Yeah.
So that's why it works.
Yeah.
And when you would transcribe this or play this on a violin, I think it should be more playful, more childish maybe. And that I don't say that because I want to...
No, on violin, but the sound is more of a scherzo.
It should
in the
be
middle
scherzo, virtuosic, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Not too long notes, you know, so I don't know.
No.
But maybe, why not? But I think it wouldn't work. Or it could work with a totally different emotional context.
Yeah, yeah. Fascinating. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go have dinner.
Oh, beautiful.